Okay, so I just made it through the median of doom. I think I did better today than I did yesterday with my front end head-on collision. Although, interestingly enough, there was quite an open path right here, and I was just like, nope, not gonna do it anymore. Not gonna do it. I'm gonna go down to the turn lane and make a U-turn and cut straight across. Cut straight across all the lanes, yes, lesson learned. Whatever lesson that might be, fucking glitter, stuff like that, shit like that. Morning. I'm in a better mood than I was yesterday, but got some weird thoughts on my mind today. Thoughts about Sandy Hook, opinions, Facebook, the end of the world, Instagram and their terms of service, and it's a mess. It's a mess up in my head right now as far as all those thoughts go. And a smart person would probably just leave them where they are. Smart person probably would also not have camera set up on his windshield the day after, or the day, because I set it up right. I kept recording yesterday too. He had nearly head-on collision, but that's reactionary. That's reactionary. Isn't that what the pro-gun people are saying? You know, guns don't kill people. Cameras on windshields don't cause accidents. It's people not paying attention that causes accidents. People killing people, not guns killing people. I guess ultimately there's two driving factors to the brain noodles this morning. One is what I brought up before, and that was intent. You know, intentionally allowing yourself and what you do and create to be shaped by your morals and ethics with intent. In other words, not just passively going about your life without much thought to what you do and say and create, but taking stock of your ideals and the things you believe are correct, and allowing that to shape what you put into the world. That's number one. Number two, I will. These two people on Facebook. One is my sister, and another is a longtime friend. And it's really interesting because they're from kind of the irritants are from really opposite ends of the spectrum. So if you are friends with my sister on Facebook, you're very familiar. She has these blindly optimistic. She's gotten into this mode of blind optimism and posting this, reposting this, posting and reposting this horseshit. I'm sorry, it's just horseshit. Today is a great day, and you can do it, and just blind positive optimism. And what's so fucking irritating about it is that she's just fucked up in a really serious way. And she's refusing to tell anybody about it. And instead she just turns to this blind optimism. And it's getting, you know, so it's just when it's shoved in your face every day. And what are you going to do? You unfriend your sister on Facebook? My brother's a different situation. I never friended him in the first place. I don't have to be subjected to the hateful things in his head. And in his case, that is the one end of it. That's what he brings to the world. Really hateful, mean things, ugly things. And of course, yes, there are certainly worse things to be putting out in the world than blind optimism. But and then who am I to judge that her blind optimism is her blind allegiance to optimism is prohibiting her from learning from her mistakes. I think it's a defense mechanism. Maybe that's it. But I'll come back to that. Because the other thing is the other friend, and it's just ever since Sandy Hook happened, he's been, posting these, guns don't kill people, people kill people, and then this more, just this, and it's not opinion. It's not opinion, it's repost. That's what's really annoying about it. But we have these tragedies and these national events and these horrible things that happen, and I include politics and presidential races in that equation, and we get to see who people really are. We get to really see what their value systems are, and we get to see what they really believe in. We all experience this. I think we all lost friends during the election cycle and that whole experience, and intentionally and unintentionally, intentionally removing people from our feeds because they kept posting stuff that we just don't agree with, and rather than get into the conflict, just remove it. And then I'm sure the other way around, where people don't agree with you, so goodbye. But this one friend, he's posting these very pro-gun sentiments, and it's understandable to a point. He's a veteran. He's definitely a pro-gun guy. But then this morning he posted not Huckabee's original statement about, hey, there wasn't any. We've removed prayer from schools, so no wonder. Where people ask me where God was during Sandy Hook, well, we removed prayer from school, so he wasn't there. It wasn't that video, but it was a follow-up to that video where Huckabee clarified his statements. And this isn't about Huckabee, it's not about his statements, but it is about that kind of rhetoric that, and just to be clear, he thinks that if we just teach the Ten Commandments, that was his clarification. We don't need gun control. We don't need any laws, but we need to bring God back into schools and teach the Ten Commandments. And if kids understood "do not kill," then these things wouldn't happen. Which to me is about as ludicrous as the gun people thinking, oh, get rid of the guns. Criminals are criminals. They're not going to obey the law that says they can't have a gun. It's just blindly, ludicrously ridiculous. And my real issue here is that it's this rhetoric. It's this rhetoric, and it's just like my brother. It's this rhetoric that distracts. And it has been the fundamental driving force of the Tea Party, of this right-wing Republican agenda. It's just rhetoric that distracts. It doesn't move anybody forward. It's the definition of atrophy. You're not using it. You're not using your brains because there's a blind allegiance to fill in the blank. I reference my brother. And I reference my brother because I feel like it's the exact same thing. A couple of years ago, when the chasm was officially driven between us, formed between us with the wedge that was driven between us. It really, it started somewhere else, but it was finalized by him asking me what the issue was. Let's talk about it. me explaining what the issue was. Very forthcoming, very willing to put everything on the table and work to resolve it. And his response was, "I'll pray for you." Seriously, that was it. And how do you respond to that? I mean, I've written plenty about it on my website, and you got to go back in the archives to dig it up, but it's there. It's such a cop-out. It's such a it's pathetic. It's so pathetic. And I feel like that is exactly that kind of rhetoric that, it is the exact same rhetoric that Huckabee is putting out there. There's horrible tragedy. Let's not do anything, but let's pray about it. Hey. I certainly am not. Okay. Bye. Coworker wondering if I was at the office or not. I'm not sure what that was about. Just been doing that every day this week. It's starting to get annoying. I'm gonna have to talk to her about it. Yeah, it's the same response. It's that and it is that right-wing Republican religious rhetoric, religiously motivated rhetoric. There's this horrible tragedy. Instead of doing something, instead of actually forming opinions, real opinions, and taking real action, let's just pray about it. Let's bring God back into the school and teach kids the difference between right and wrong, because in this modern society of ours, we need ancient text that is meaningless to teach us the difference between right and wrong, to appreciate the value of life. What a crock of shit! What a crock of shit! What a crock of fucking shit! It's infuriating, obviously. I don't value life because I'm not a Christian. Bullshit. Anyway, I said it wasn't about Huckabee's opinion, and it's not about Huckabee's opinion. It's about that continuation of those posts, which is, to me, nothing but distracting rhetoric that doesn't get us anywhere. And that led me to the path of Facebook and how Facebook exists to give voice to people who, should they not have a voice? I'm not sure, but when you use that voice to pledge blind allegiance to someone else's convoluted opinion, Huckabee, or ideals, blind optimism. Because the problem with blind optimism is that if you blindly follow it and trust in it and believe in it, you are ignoring realities that shape your life. Which is essentially the same thing as, your extremist, there's the common denominator. It's this is extremist belief systems. And Lewis is letting his be driven by maybe not so much, but I mean that's where Huckabee is, right? And Lewis is reposting that, so he's not forming his opinion, but a true opinion, which is and again, to clarify, a true opinion, a real opinion, in my opinion, is a collection of data from a bunch of sources, a collection of different points of views, and then basing an opinion off of that, not just reposting someone's silly rhetoric and hiding this extreme belief system of optimism and positivity. You know, when you live your life with those extreme beliefs. Anyway, the point is that with Facebook, people's definition of an opinion has become reposting, resharing, reblogging some other pointless piece of rhetoric that someone else wrote or invented. There's something interesting about YouTube. There's something interesting about that, in that there is intent. Here we go again with intent. There is intent. You can't just repost something. You can't just reblog something. You can't just reshare something. You have to get on the camera and actually express yourself. Now, if Lewis was just getting on a camera and repeating what Huckabee said, at least that would be a little bit more valid, because he would at least have to justify why he's saying that. And I think he would have to. Maybe I'm being too optimistic myself about the format of a vlog, but I think the intent, which is turning on the camera and talking to it, involves some sort of formed, legitimate opinion. So my point here is that I find myself exhausted. I find myself wary of this climate on Facebook, of these reposts, these fake opinions, these uneducated opinions, these extremists in different walks of lives. And I'm gonna throw a major hypocritical statement here, but I'm wondering if the end of the world, the alleged end of the world on Friday, may not be a really good opportunity for myself to do something extreme myself, which is rethink how I incorporate Facebook in my life. There are considerations. There are considerations in respect to how I am incorporated personality traits. I have an obsessive personality trait. There are certain things that get me through the day. The other consideration is that I live a digital lifestyle. I require, that is truly where my friends are and how I connect with people digitally, online. So to say Facebook does not fit that bill anymore is a very broad statement, but I'm kind of wondering if it's still true. I'm having issues with it today. I am. I've often felt like it's a tool that needs to be utilized for everything else I do, with videos and my own website and promotion, self-promotion, books, that sort of thing. But is it worth it? If I'm looking at my ideals, if I'm looking at what I believe my morals and ethics are and should be, do they shape within idealistically Crumbine idealistically oriented world? Does Facebook have a place as a platform for other people to reblog, repost, reshare opinions that sound good to them? You know, here's a summation to that point, that earlier point. I don't, and I'm kind of grappling with this myself, because it's such an extreme black and white divisive statement, and I don't necessarily want to state it, except for the fact that I think it might be true. I don't respect your opinion. If your opinion is reblogged, reposted, reshared, if it is uninformed, if it is not genuine, I don't respect your opinion. And my feeling is that is a very broad blanket statement that is at odds with probably a good 75 to 90% of internet culture. I'm not sure I want to make that statement, but there's part of me that thinks that's the truth. Because my idealistic values are that what's the point of having the standard? What's the point of saying this is what an opinion is? An understanding of all the different points of views, an understanding of all the facts, and then a synthesization of all that data through a personal lens. What is the point of having that standard? What is the point of having that idealistic perspective if people are not held up to it? And that's, the unrealistic part. How do you hold everybody up to your own standards? How do you hold people up to maybe misinformed standards? But how do you not, if you want to change things? If you want to try to change things, maybe I'm not right, but for the time being, that's what sounds pretty damn good to me. What sounds pretty damn close to being right to me. And I'm open to change. I'm open to somebody changing my opinion, but you're not going to do it by reposting, reblogging, and resharing someone else's opinion. That really bothers me when I had something to say about Sandy Hook on Facebook. I took the time. I read some stuff to make sure I was writing, and when I sat down to actually write something in my own words, and I took the time to read some extra stuff to make sure I wasn't off base. I wasn't, manufacturing. I wasn't making mistakes in my writing about a fact or something somewhere along the line. And I'm kind of pissed that, here I am taking the time and effort to really express myself, to share what I think is an issue, and everybody else is just reblogging, reposting, resharing something else. How is that a conversation? Wouldn't that be funny? What if real life conversations took place just like Facebook, where people don't actually conversate, but just reblog, repost, reshare the things they hear, and maybe they do to a certain extent, and maybe I have really unrealistic, idealistic values, but I gotta hope that's not the case. So yeah, I'm thinking about December 21st being the end of my Facebook world. To an extent, I'm not going to zap it or anything, but again, like I was saying, I have this obsessive personality. It's always on. It's on my phone. It's on my tablet. It's on my computer at work. It's always there, and I'll always click into it and see if there's anything new or interesting. It's part of my hourly life, and I wonder if maybe as part of that idealistic value system, maybe there's a better way to channel that obsessive personality trait. So, and then the other thing is I do really value my messenger, the Facebook Messenger. That's definitely a important communication tool for me. So I have no desire to get rid of that. And then the other consideration, again, like I said at the very beginning, was Instagram. Instagram is a Facebook company, and if you were paying attention to the news cycle yesterday, you know that Instagram has a new set of terms and services where they will use your photos to make money. They will sell your photos. They will use your photos in advertisements. And you don't get anything out of it. By posting your photos to Instagram, that's you're giving them license to use your photos that way. And as a user of Instagram, as a non-user of Instagram, I'm mostly indifferent. As a user of Facebook, this was a rule this was something that they tried to do on Facebook and didn't succeed. But as a user of Facebook, I'm still indifferent to it, because I feel like, okay, if you're going to post something on a public platform like this that is owned by a publicly traded company, that's just the name of the game. You have no right to privacy. You have little right to controlling how your publicly posted material on the internet is used. But it doesn't change the fact that, it's just not right. As a creator, as a creator who as an individual who wants to shape his life through his creative art, through his and make a career out of his creative art, it's just not a right thing to do. So, my usage of Facebook supports those terms of services, supports that unethical, unidealistic usage of creative content, and I'm not sure I'm okay with that. So, it's hard to say I'm going to delete everything on Friday, but I will drastically change how I use it. I really think I'm going to be drastically changing how I use it, because I'm having a hard time jiving with the company, and I don't like what it's doing to people, and by extension of that, how it has. What it's doing to me. Should I be thinking these thoughts in the first place? Should I be bothered with these thoughts? I don't know. I want something more genuine. And I think the first step is to get rid of the stuff that shouldn't belong. And right now that's Facebook. I don't respect your opinion, and I don't want to see. I don't respect your opinion if it's not real. If it's not a real opinion, and I don't want to see it anymore, because that's not helpful for me, and that's not good for me. And I've turned that into my entertainment, right? That's my hourly entertainment, and that's not good. That's not good at all. Those are my first thoughts. Trip, have a field day with this one. Made it to work, no accidents. Step in the right direction. Well, I shouldn't say that yet. Put the car in park first. Stay tuned. Stay creative.